Okay. Well, it is 4:20, so maybe everybody's out partying. I don't know. And then maybe we'll get some more people come in as we go along here. But I'll introduce myself. My name is Ron Nagy, and I live in the Fort Lauderdale area. I've been in the vacation rental space since about 2018, but I was in the hotel industry for a lot of years before that. And I worked for large major US corporations. And then when I transitioned to vacation rentals, I was working for a big company called Turnkey that then ended up getting acquired by Vacasa, as I'm sure you guys know who that is. Subsequently, they have gone out of business. The good news is, though, is I gained a ton of experience. I was managing about 1,600 vacation homes up and down the eastern seaboard for them. And it led me to believe that, hey, there's so much more to this, and virtually this is going to be something for everybody to sort of get into. And so from there, the number one thing that I saw was the biggest area of opportunity was cleaning and maintenance, because as much as like we were, 2018 pre-pandemic, we were rocking and rolling, we were acquiring and onboarding properties left and right, but nobody from our operations teams were getting into these properties, taking care of them. No, it was very difficult even to get in and do inspections to ensure that our cleaners and maintenance teams were getting the work done, and everything just became very chaotic. And then that's when I decided, like right post pandemic, to start my own businesses. So basically, with nothing down, started a cleaning business down here in Fort Lauderdale. And believe it or not, my first contract or whatever was with Vacasa, cleaning for them. So there's so many different areas and routes to get into this industry. And for me, it was super important that I was able to um, do something, because I didn't have a lot of capital, and and do something that was able to generate revenue fairly quickly with very little overhead. And that's sort of where I ended up cutting my teeth and my first initial business from there. So then we started to delve a little bit into the management side, and started to bring on a couple of full service management contracts. And so really over the first couple of years, we're sort of just like really cutting our teeth on the cleaning business, the maintenance business, management, for other owners. Again, very similar to like, arbitrage, basically not putting a ton of money down or having to invest a lot, but doing something with other people's money, which I think is sort of, in many instances, that's the way we have to go. So very excited that I'm able to talk to you guys today. The bridge, though, is that from there, we weren't generating enough money to go ahead. Hi, everybody. Just giving a little bit of a bio on myself as more and more of you guys just jump in here. And then we'll sort of just open it up. And then one of the things that I realized that I actually was very passionate about was revenue management. And that's sort of what has led me to Michael and the 1% group here, and why I'm actually coming to talk to you guys today, and we'll be doing so sort of moving forward on Monday evenings. I'm working with Michael currently on some special projects having to look at the underwriting process, finding the right types of units in the right locations, that with the the right deal and the right installation package, amenity package, design package, should then produce X amount of dollars, right? Every time we take a look at how a property is going to perform, we need to be extremely cognizant that we're truly performing at those numbers. And if we're not meeting those revenue expectations, then the reality is that we're not really, we gotta do something to flip the script. And so that's sort of like how this all comes together. So the management and co-hosting and cleaning business that I have here, sort of locally based in Fort Lauderdale, I don't have a ton of units. I think We have about 8 to 10 right now total that that we're managing, operating, or co-hosting. We want to continue to expand that, but I have about 225 homes that I do revenue management for using Price Labs. And so I'm very strong when it comes to if you guys have any questions on pricing, if you guys have any questions on like figuring out how you really fall in air DNA, like say, hey, I wanted to check my property to see exactly how I have been performing over the last year and see if I am sort of in that top 10% of all the homes in that market that are sort of this 4 bedroom, 2 bath, or whatever with the right amenities, sort of more apples to apples comparisons. That way you can get some confidence that, hey, we can do more, or hey, we're not necessarily performing as well as we should be, so we need to do something in order to change it up. So again, I think that from what I understand, that we really don't have any quote unquote scheduled topics. This is more of an open Q&A. I'm always in the Facebook groups as well too. So like one of the big things that popped last week coming into this week was the whole Airbnb fee thing again, that Airbnb had a technical glitch and some people were allowed to switch back into the split fee guest service versus just host only. That created a lot of pandemonium for everybody and all of that. So I think what I'm going to do now is just take a quick pause as more people are coming in and make sure that we're all on the same page here, and just sort of see if there's anything special that you guys do from an introduction standpoint, or it just sort of becomes a free-flowing conversation. So put it out there. Anybody who wants to say hello and let me know where you guys are from and how many properties you're currently operating.
Yes, suppose technically, constitutionally, the legislative branch is the most powerful, but we get a motorcade, so that's all. All right, you already know about
Elsa, maybe you or anybody?
Hello?
Anybody talk?
Hey,
You would-
hi
you
Ron.
would-
I just hopped on. My name's Dana.
That's okay.
Um,
Oh, no, hi, Dana. It says Elsa at the top, though. I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Okay, go ahead.
So,
My-
let's see if I can. I just was driving home. I just got home. I am located in New Jersey. My husband Frankie is on the call as well. We
Okay.
own 2 short-term rentals in Bradenton, Florida. And we've had one since 2024, so we're going on 2 years with that property. And we have the second property we closed on like exactly this time last year.
Okay, so it's been about a year since it's been live.
Yeah. We went live
That's
end of
because
July.
you had to do some setup. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because we closed on it, then we had to do some work to the property, and we went live like July, end of June, July. So we're almost on 2 years for the first property, and we'll be coming up on a year in a couple months on the second property.
And are you able to do this full time, or do you still have a W-2, or you have family, like whatever, right? Because everybody's in a different journey or path, and it's to me fascinating, like how people thread that needle all the time because of so much work this takes, let alone then if you have another 9 to 5 or whatever plus family, how it all sort of comes together.
Yeah, so I'm in Scrubs. I do have a W-2. I'm a physician assistant for Department of Surgery at a hospital near me. We have 2 kids, 7 and 5, and my husband runs an Acura dealership. And like I said, he's on but muted. So we both work.
And you guys are really able, because this is one of the biggest things that I talk to a lot of my revenue management clients about a lot, that are fairly high W-2 earners, things like that. Are Are you taking advantage of every possible tax deduction that you can? Because even when people are telling me, hey, Ron, I may not be, or I'm maybe just breaking even, or I thought I would be more profitable. That's what a lot of people have told me. And this comes back to what I'm actually helping Michael with, is to ensure that the underwriting or taking a look at the real data out there, the real performance data, is as accurate as possible. Because when we're looking either through Price Labs or AirDNA and we're saying, hey, how much did this property actually do? There's usually a ton of noise that comes into it. So the first piece of noise is, are you including your cleaning fees or are you not including your cleaning fees? Typically, you're getting that revenue, but that is automatically being paid out to your cleaning team. So a lot of people say, hey, I did $100,000, but in reality, minus the cleaning fees, they did 83 to 85 or something like that. And so that's what we're really trying to dial in for everybody, to make sure that the deals that he's able to provide everybody are very insightful and very, very well focused. And that's what I've been doing. So, for example, we started because I live in Fort Lauderdale. We started looking at the Fort Lauderdale market, and then I was doing some really deep dive in Orlando, because he's passionate about some of the areas there and things like that. And I just am very much on the page that I see stuff all the time. So if I'm in all of my clients' Price Labs accounts on a weekly basis, and I'm looking at right now, we're in a super slow period between now and Memorial Day. Memorial Day hasn't necessarily picked up 100% yet. The prices are very high for Memorial Day because there's a lot of people looking. But I also feel there's a lot of people like trying to find the weekends before, the weekends after, and stuff like that to book, because our prices, relatively speaking, are fairly high when it comes to our key holidays. There's less people today that are able to focus on being the digital nomad or remote work, right? Some of that has really cut out and has definitely made the shoulder seasons, like right now, post spring break and post Easter, and kids are still in school. Before the kids get out of school at the end of May, beginning of June, I'm seeing demand, especially midweek. And it could be a cabin in, one of the major cabin areas. It could be one of the beach areas, from up where you guys are in Bradenton to down where I'm at Fort Lauderdale. Especially midweek, extremely low demand. And so I'm like, coaching my clients that I do stuff, because I'll do pricing, but pricing is only one piece of it. It's like, what do your photos look like? How are your reviews doing? How is everything else that's coming, that goes into this crazy process that we call Airbnb or short-term rentals? How are all of those three pillars sort of working together? And over time, I see that there's a massive dependency to do that. So I know that was just like a little brief overview, and wanting just to get people to sort of like see if we can have a dialogue. I'm brand new to how you guys manage this hour. I am very free flowing. I love to hear people's backgrounds and how, if they're having any struggles, if they have any questions. So are there any questions or comments? Does anybody, some of you came in while I was like sort of midway through. Do you guys have any specific questions for me right now? And if not, I don't mind showing you guys sort of like this sort of high level stuff in AirDNA that may make sense for you guys as you're taking a look to see how are you actually really performing in a, either in a highly competitive market or in a less competitive market. But are you really, like, as people want to say, like, hey, I really want to be top 10%, or I want to be top whatever. Am I really performing that way based on bedrooms, bathrooms, number of people slept, and certain amenities, right? I don't mind showing you guys that. I can do anything in Price Labs that you guys would have a question on from a revenue management standpoint. And then I'm just open to, talking about anything that's happening or on your mind from an industry standpoint. So if anybody would like to ask a question, I'm more than
Yeah,
happy.
this is
Hi,
Elsa. I
Elsa.
have a question. Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. A little bit about myself really quickly. I have two arbitrage properties, one in Nashville and one in Colorado.
What part of Colorado?
I'm in Westminster, Colorado.
Right outside Arvada.
What is
Very
that?
popular. Right outside of Arvada, Westminster,
Yeah, pretty
Arvada.
close to Arvada,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did Airbnb in 2015. I had two properties that did really well back that time, and I sold those properties, and I've been focused more on long term for a while. And last year, I tried to go back to Airbnb, trying to get some more cash flow. I had to quit my W-2 to take care of my kiddos. I have two daughters, so I wanted to kind of go back to short-term rentals and see how it is now because a lot had changed. So now I'm probably like a year and a half into these properties now. So my question is, I I feel like I guess I struggle a bit in terms of the pricing. I'm always checking in advance and everything, and I try to use Price Labs and I have all the settings and but then when I start reviewing, and there's probably something wrong with my settings, but when I start doing comparisons and checking my rankings and all of that, I can clearly see like the pricing, even using the suggested pricing, the base price of Price Lab is completely off from other houses. And I have my comparables and I check them, they're similar and all of that. But it's always pretty off. I go busy with other stuff and trying to get another property, and for now I've just been like kind of just working on Airbnb, reducing the prices, and what has been working for me right now, it's I've just been doing a lot of custom promotions within Airbnb.
Yes.
I do get quite a bit of bookings, especially for the Nashville one, when I use the custom promotions. But when I see the custom promotions, or like I ended up having to lower my price quite a bit to be competitive with other similar properties. But I feel like my price lab is not really giving me the correct prices. So I'm not sure what it's off.
Yeah, and herein lies what I see a ton. So first of all, can you guys see Can you see my screen here?
Yes.
Okay, I just logged into one of my Price Labs accounts here, and I'm always very much the very first thing that I do is create this what I call this dashboard here, ops dashboard that shows me how well my properties are performing, occupancy wise to the market, revenue wise compared to same time last year, ADR wise compared to same time last year, et cetera, because it's super important to understand how you're performing today, and if you have any year-over-year data. This is sort of like the precursor to then saying, hey, once I sort of know what is happening today, there is so much that happens in Price Labs on a continual basis. And one of the biggest things that I found with people is that, are you realistic about the type of your property compared to your competitors? Even though this is showing other people are pricing higher, and this is a World Cup situation that we're talking about here. Even though people are pricing higher, if they're not getting any occupancy and they're not converting people into booking, you need to sort of understand and ensure that your base settings here, especially when it comes to your, and I'm sort of trying to see if I can circle this here, my base number here, that I'm falling in line with, again, my competitors who I know because they're right down the street, they're next door, they're whatever here, right? So there's so much data and effort that goes into this. And then if this base price is very far off what's happening in reality here, right, compared to other 4 bedrooms, but just because I'm a 4-bedroom, it doesn't mean that I'm not competing against 3 bedrooms in the same market. Because when you're on Airbnb or whatever, and you put in number of people, it's going to give you a mix of 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 5 bedrooms, whatever, based on the number of people that you select. So this isn't just about me staying in my category. This is me understanding that there's a flex here, and that I need to have a good enough base price, but also at the same time ensuring that I have not over customized my customizations here. Really, at the end of the day, there's so much that goes into this, Elsa. And when we take a look at any of our strategies that are not performing, especially from an occupancy standpoint, there's usually a fairly easy fix. But I do this day in and day out, and I have 200 plus units, and so I'm constantly in here. I'm catching every single upgrade that Price Labs makes. I'm taking a look at many different factors all at the same time. And as much as I'd like to say it's just one thing and just check this, it isn't that. If one of your settings here, and for example here, this demand factor sensitivity here, I go back and forth and I modify it and I change it here, because if I'm currently sitting at moderately conservative, if somebody comes in, just to show you what happens here with that setting, it can literally throw things off from moderately conservative to moderately aggressive. It's going to automatically, at the same base rate, automatically go in and start driving things up, especially over the year, right? So it will push up very specific things higher and lower, because I've told the system that I want it to be more aggressive. And so different things like that can have an impact on your system that you don't realize. And I recommend, there are many people that do fractional revenue management like myself, or if you have the time and you're passionate about data and how all of this works together, this is one of the biggest things that I tell people, that if they want to spend time learning, especially if they're very data driven, learning and understanding how revenue management and pricing strategy works is paramount to your success, especially from a high level occupancy perspective. And there's a lot of times that I want to go ahead and continue to push pricing, but I can't always. I'll go in and I may push pricing, and what happens is that I stop booking, and I stop booking because it ends up killing my algorithm. And from that perspective, there could be numerous things. But where I was sort of just saying earlier, right now, there's going to be certain times that you're not going to see a ton of bookings occurring, depending on the market, the location, and the performance of each market at any given time. Like right now, we're seeing a little bump for World Cup here this weekend here, and it's a nice bump year over year compared to what we would normally sort of get in the summer. And a lot of people are still higher priced, but even though the occupancy is hitting almost 50% in the market, the average rate is still relatively low, sitting in the 25th, at the bottom of the 25th percentile, which is still relatively low. This is fascinating, because all of us that have switched from the split fee to the host only fee and are using a markup of generally 15.5% in a PMS or something like that, all of us are showing much higher prices going into next season. It's not that we always achieve them. This is the strategy that the algorithm is taking us on, and you want to make sure that, generally speaking, you're riding somewhere between this gray and this, I'll call this a coral color. So your 25th to 50th percentile is the gray, and your coral color is the 75th percentile. That's why this is sort of like the sweet spot when we get over here for Christmas and the holidays. Instead of being way high, unless your property completely dictates it, you should not be so highly priced because you will price yourself out of the market. And again, I know that, hey, there's a lot, and I'm, speaking to certain things, but it's not just one thing. It's sort of like, what does your current property look like? How are the reviews doing? When's the last time you had photos updated? How are you sitting, quote unquote, and standing with Airbnb? And how then are your competitors doing? And so if I can, give everybody like a, for example here, there's something wrong with this property right here, right? It is just not booking for some reason. Either they have done something and are not in a good place with Airbnb, or, potentially the rates look just too high, right? Even though they're sitting in a split fee, that means that the guest is paying an additional 12 to 13% because they're sitting at a split fee here. Most people would not necessarily see that, but I do, because of being in here all the time, knowing, hey, these people were taking the 15% hit, but this pricing here and their length of stay, 4 nights, is too high. Generally speaking, even though we can do 4 nights, you would want to do 3 nights here or even lower, especially if you stop booking. There's many levers that we pull if we stop booking in order for us to start booking again. And the best way to understand that you're doing well is a self-fulfilling prophecy of you continuing to book, and many, many, many levers. It's like people are creating all kinds of really cool AI-based tools, but I just don't know that they're literally thinking of every single little nuance that can occur here when it comes to the length of stay with the split fee versus the host only fee versus, hey, it looks like they have a 4.84 on reviews, etc. So all these things come into play. And I wish I would say, hey, this could fix it, Elsa. But the reality is that there are probably 33 independent factors that all come into play. And if you are unfamiliar with how things, should be set, or you want to set, staying balanced, right, or Price Labs recommended is almost the way to go, because it gives you some sort of guidance, but it is not the end all be all of what is happening every single day when I go into my clients' accounts and make micro adjustments or pricing adjustments, because they're not booked. My goal is always to stay booked 30 days out and book that much further out, because we generally are charging more money, and that's really sort of the goal for where we are sitting. So I know that was a lot of information to throw on you guys, and I apologize if it was just a little bit too much, but is there any more, somebody have like a follow-up question into anything that I've sort of said here?
So part of my
question.
oh.
Yes, just if you could touch a little more on the host only and the split fee, and how do we determine that? What do you have, and what's the better approach?
Okay, so right now the first question is, are you using a PMS or are you directly connected to Airbnb?
I'm using the Price Labs.
Okay, so Price Labs is a pricing tool, and when I say PMS, that would be Hospitable, Owner Res, Host Away, one of those. That's a property management system. Then, so for example, my Price Labs is the pricing tool that connects into my Host Away account, which is my property management system. The property management system, Host Away, then connects to the Airbnb channel, to the VRBO channel, to the booking.com, to whatever channel you want. So if you are using Price Labs, but you're connected directly into Airbnb, then currently you were allowed to stay. For example, here, I know this is actually one of my clients. He only has the one property here, so he's not using a PMS. He has his Price Labs connected directly to Airbnb. Now, when we say split fee versus host only fee, this is the major difference there, Darsh, is that the split fee, the guest is still paying an additional approximate 12 to 15%, and you as the host are only paying 3%. This is what I call the old way. Okay. Anytime that we see host only fee in here, this means that the guest is no longer paying a that 12 to 15%. But what we've done is we have a markup sitting on top of the price that feeds in. So for example, this is my $3.99 price that is going in from Price Labs into HostAway. HostAway is then adding 15% and pushing that price out to Airbnb, because when somebody books with us and it's host only fee here, it automatically becomes a 15.5% expense to the host, right? So we needed to increase our rates in order to cover that additional expense that we're now getting hit with. All of us, or I'd say the vast majority of us that are sitting on a property management system, we're unable to do anything about it. Meaning, like, hey, this is what Airbnb is doing. They rolled this out like last October 27th in 2025, and we got the message, and they said this is what's going to happen, and this is what we're going to do. And so what you don't want to do is, if you are still sitting on a split fee and you're sort of taking a look at some of the prices that people have in their in these comp sets here, this 429 is the guest is paying now an additional guest service fee that our guests aren't necessarily paying. So I hope that makes just a little bit of sense there. It's still there was like a crisis point last week where Airbnb had a technical glitch, and it was allowing people to somehow switch back from this host only to split. They caught it, they stopped it, but for like a hot minute, everybody was like, "Oh, did Airbnb change again?" And some of us were like, "Okay, I'm just going to sit back and wait and pop my popcorn," because everybody's running around like crazy with their head cut off. And I'm like, there's no way that they are switching this back, because they put so much time and effort into saying, okay, first everybody with a PMS. Then they keep on coming out now with, I swear, and I haven't dug through the Airbnb website recently, but I know that they're forcing more people to eventually switch over. I feel like there's going to be a certain drop dead date, and I don't know what that date is in the near future, but let's say by the end of the year at least, everybody's going to be over here, on host only, because I think what they really want to make the difference with the guests is to say, hey, we don't have any fee. Like, we're not charging you any fees. If you're being charged, it's being charged by the host. So we look like we're rock stars at Airbnb because we're not charging you a guest fee anymore, right? At the end of the day, it's basically sleight of hand and there. So did that help? I know it's a lot. Did that help explain any of this chaos that Airbnb has caused?
No, definitely that helped. Just one follow-up question. So if I'm using Hospitable, it's automatically applying that's the default setting, or do we have any
if you're in
change that?
if you have Hospitable, so if you have Hospitable, you should automatically see that you are on host only. And if you want, I can show you. Hold on, let me go into Airbnb here. Let me pull up a reservation.
God said to Abraham, "Look toward the heaven and number the stars, and so shall your descendants be."
Okay, so for example here, this is where you'll want to see, so back in October, I was on the other fee, and now here, automatically this comes in as an expense. So that means that here, I'm forcing my guests to pay 15% more. So if you are on Hospitable, the one thing that you need to verify, if you're getting hit with this host service fee of 15.5% is that your prices, that the guests are paying on the room rate are at least 10, 13, 15% higher. And that is a special markup that occurs specifically in, not, you wouldn't necessarily do it in price labs. They're all done in the property management systems, and all you need to do is Google or AI, hey, how do I, in Hospitable, how do I go ahead and modify my my Airbnb markup, right? Some people are adding additional markup to their VRBO to cover any fees, or cost to them that the platform is charging them. So this is standard now, this view. And so this is the first thing you want to check. Then you want to check that your PMS, that you have I'd say 15% is solid. If you go too much higher, like some people were told to go to 18.5 to cover the the cost of the cleaning fee, because these this here, the cleaning fee is part of what's getting charged, the 15.5%. So that's the reason why some people were saying originally, I'm going to increase my rates by 18.5%. I think that's a little bit too high. I recommend all of my revenue management clients to go somewhere between 13 to 15.5, depending on their comfort level. If you are a little bit more competitive and stay at 15 or below, I feel that gives us just a slight edge when it comes to price in the pricing module from that perspective. So,
thank you.
Awesome, great questions. Does anybody have a follow up from there, or another follow up on Price Labs, or any sort of other general or broad questions?
Yeah, just to follow up on the earlier question I had, like part of my question was like, I use custom promotions in Airbnb, and I do see like my rankings get better when I use those custom promotions. But then if I use those and I apply my discounts there, then I cannot trust my Price Lab data anymore when comparing, right? Have you seen that? Like, do you use both?
No. So I was literally so Elsa. So literally today, because we're at this point, and I was saying to somebody earlier, let me just show you guys what I mean when I talk about demand being low. This is a way to tell it here. Well, okay, I mean, sort of is. But right now, I could go into many of my clients' accounts. I booked early here, right? So I was trying to get ahead of this occupancy curve. But this is a, let me show you guys another way. First of all, it's about what does demand look like here. Okay, here we go. Here's a good example here. This is just getting into World Cup. So anytime you see, and I have what's called their enhanced color code methodology on. Sometimes you see it as just green, like 2 greens and a blue or something like that. I use this color code methodology. So we get this I call it this terracotta, and then the yellow, which is very low demand, and normal demand. So even now for FIFA, right, World Cup, and granted the whatchamacallits are in Miami, and I'm in Fort Lauderdale. So yes, there is a little bit of a distance there. I'm only picking up just normal demand, right? Normal, nothing special about the first set of it. Now I am looks like that this is going to end up being a good set of games, depending on who wins. We don't know 100%. I actually have a meeting, I think, on Wednesday to discuss this. But I'll run Elsa special promotions on some of these dates here that have this. For example, this would be a potential date that I would run a special promotion. And right now my rates are, let's say, $250 here, $250 to $300. When you go and run a special promotion in Airbnb, this is what I was saying to some of my clients today that we're going to run some here. You take these dates in Airbnb, but Airbnb is looking at the average pricing over the last 60 days when it comes up with the initial dollar amount. So what I'm saying here is, when you run if I was to run a special promotion in Airbnb on these 4 dates, it would give me a higher price, and I have to use the scroll bar in order to do it. Thus, to your point, Elsa, messing up my pricing here. So let's just try this out. This is like 250 to 300. It is May 4th through the 7th. Let's see what happens in Airbnb, because it's always fun. You go into the property that you want to do it, into the calendar. It will tell me, hey, all my pricing is basically, if I need to make changes, it's going to go through the property management software. That's right. However, I can still run my special promotions here. Custom promotion. Select dates on the calendar. It's going to also tell me if I'm allowed to do it. So I'm going to select these dates here. So originally we said it was 250 to 300. So automatically right now I'm here 295 to 351. Okay, that's part of it because of my markup that I have going from Price Labs through HostAway into Airbnb, which is why these prices are actually higher. Then when I click on this here, okay, so almost getting it back to where it was, it automatically wants you to go like a very aggressive, almost 30% discount. But the reality is that, okay, what you get at 20% is, when I lower this here, I still get the 3 strike through price, discount banner on listing, and highlighted in emails when I'm at 20%. As soon as I drop below 20%, I lose this highlighted in emails. So I'm always trying to do that. So now take a look at my pricing though. So this technically, at 20% is 231 to 310, which I was basically, that's sort of where I was at in my Price Labs, right? And so that's why I keep on saying to everybody, if you've never done this personally and you go and do it, this is now going to hard code this special promotion in here. And I more than likely, actually, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it. And then if I need to make changes, I'm not going to make changes through Price Labs. I need to come back through here. So now you can see it's changed my prices. And when Price Labs goes in, it's gonna Airbnb will not allow it to override it, because where it's being at the channel point here, this active custom promotion 20% off is only sitting here. So no matter what I do in Price Labs, the prices are truly being set here. And which again, I think Elsa may answer that question a little bit. It will throw off what's happening in Price Labs because I've stopped it at the very end of the chain by setting up the custom promotion here in Airbnb, as opposed to anything else. I already had a 13 or 16% discount, knowing that these 4 nights were low demand to begin with, and I had already opened up my 2-night length of stay versus 3, just knowing that I'm trying to at least get, I would love it to get all 4 nights booked, of course, but even if I just get 2 nights of this booked out of the 4, or 3 out of the 4, I'm actually in a, I'm in a better place for having that additional, let's call it almost $1,000 or $900 in revenue that I didn't have before. So does that help answer that question a little bit more, Elsa?
Yeah, it does. It's still a little bit confusing for me going back and forth between the two, like, because I have the markup. I think when I started adding the markups, that's when like my whole brain started like getting confused, because I don't see the markup.
Yeah, trust me. It is so much. Honestly, it is so much to deal with. I know that, like, it may sound like, and I am, because I use this tool every single day, and I've seen so many of the struggles that people go through. But I completely 1,000,000% agree with you that there's a lot to actually process here, and I have been seeing, especially where some of my clients have cabin properties or beach properties or things like that, where right now this demand is definitely weaker, and we're trying just to do a short-term custom promotion, it's more complicated than you'd think it would be. But sometimes they do work, and we'll know, you'll know when you come back into any of your promotions and see if you've gotten any views. That's really but then you need to check it daily, right? And if you are really interested in seeing what happens in Price Labs, this isn't that you set it and forget it. And I'm not saying I go in and make crazy changes to any account on a daily basis. I go in and see how the unit is performing first. If the unit is performing and we have high occupancy, and we have high occupancy further out based on our booking windows and things like that, then we're good. Then we let it roll. Then we like, hey, the algorithm is working. Hey, the service end is being taken care of. Hey, people like the photography, right? If we start to have a performance issue, that's when people need to become hyper vigilant on what they need to do in order to try to fix that scenario where they've stopped booking. That is sort of like our lifeblood, and that's the reason why I focus so much on this. How many room nights did I book over the last 30 nights, right? So I look at it every 3, 7, 15, and 30, how many room nights I booked. And like right now, I haven't booked any in the last 3 days. Okay, that makes sense. But my how I'm penetrated into the market from an occupancy standpoint, I'm quite happy with. And I need to let one of my little dogs out. And I'm penetrating my market occupancy quite well. So I'm very happy from that standpoint, which is why I'm like, okay, I still feel good knowing that it's just slow. It's naturally slowing down because of the time of the year, and I shouldn't panic. I shouldn't, go crazy, and I shouldn't go in and redo everything in my algorithm, because so far something has been happening really strong. I'm up, 4,000, 5,000 over last year. I'm up 7,000 over last year. I'm sitting really strong from an occupancy, through April 20th, almost, 4 full months, and I'm sitting at 84% occupancy. Obviously, it's Fort Lauderdale, so this is our busiest time of the year. And so we want to ensure that we are, tapping every little thing that we can do. So all great questions so far. Is this sort of like, if somebody can give me since I'm brand new to what's happening with you guys here, is this sort of like what you guys do? Am I doing it the right way? is this stuff helpful for you guys? Sort of like, just if you can give me like a yes, Ron, no, Ron, like if somebody wants to do that, if you could.
Yes, this is really helpful. I appreciate this. Yeah, because it's
okay. Cool.
It's hard to look at the numbers of all the changes and everything, but this is really helpful.
Okay, good.
I would say this is super helpful. Sorry, I was late coming in. I will also hi. It's also super helpful too if we kind of know what the topics are going to be coming up.
Yeah.
So I don't always join the calls just because my schedule is super crazy. But if there's a topic that's interesting, or I'm like, oh yeah, I need to know more about that, I definitely try to make it a priority to join.
I think that was the whole point of, I was asking them, I'm like, hey, do you guys have scheduled topics, or is it more sort of general Q&A? I think that there's a lot of stuff that can potentially be scheduled. I'm going to be working with Cassie, I think, as far as that goes. So I don't know 100% on how your process works, or at least like within the group, about getting the information back to Cassie. But I do, Jordan, like that idea, and so I don't know if it goes like into your guys' feed, or somebody sends an email or something. But
it does. It's on the calendar. There's a calendar on there, and so I know that in the past, if there's been a certain topic, it'll kind of be on the calendar for that date.
I think this will be great in the last sort of 6 minutes that we have. What are some of the topics that you guys would really be interested in, so that we can sort of tailor some more, more schedule? There's so much I feel we can do, definitely with revenue management. So I'm all over that. I'm definitely just gonna put that down.
What I thought would really be very helpful, like if you have one example like if we can do a session in which like you can show us maybe one property and show us what you do usually when you see it's not performing, so we can like kind of see a journey of your thought process looking
Yes.
at the next few weeks. That would be like super
So,
helpful
so,
just to be kind of in your
so
shoes looking at what you do.
yeah, so basically find an underperforming property and use that as a case study so that we can all sort of look at it together, and then, and then additional weeks or whatever, see what makes the difference, right? So, okay, I like that.
Right. Yeah, that'd be great to see like from what would be your
Hmm.
thought process when you look at something like that. So we kind of can compare what we do and see what are
Yeah.
the gaps. Yeah, that'd be great.
Is that one of your biggest, would you guys say that producing enough revenue is generally one of the biggest challenges that you have as an operator in this space? Or are there any other challenges that we should sort of be aware of from service or whatever else, right? I mean, it just seems to me that if we're not making enough money, then nothing else really matters to most people. That's just what I glean. And when I was managing a very large portfolio of homes, 80% of owners left a property management company because they weren't generating enough revenue. Then the second biggest thing was service or quality of the management company taking care of that asset. And so that's sort of how it worked. But were there any other major pain points that you guys would want to sort of do deeper dives into?
No, I think that's one of the biggest pain points. And one more topic that I would love for you to cover would be FIFA and any major events coming up that sort of affect every one of us. What would be
Yeah.
the thought process at what point or at what market occupancy you would think that maybe I need to reduce my prices, or am I underpriced or anything along those lines?
And Darsh, what market are you currently in for FIFA? Because
Houston, Texas.
Houston, yeah, what's happening with every market, and I actually had, so the good news is, and I think we should cover that probably next Monday, for part of it, is because I have another meeting with Airbnb people from Miami to talk about FIFA this Wednesday. And so I think we should definitely put that down to cover next week, because what I'm noticing, and again, it would be 100%. Let me show you guys this here. This is real life here. Let me change this down to 6 months. Okay. So what I'm really looking at here is the red line, which is the growth in occupancy for this specific weekend
I'm not able to
relative.
see your, sorry,
Oh, I'm
I'm not able
sorry,
to
guys.
see your screen.
Thank you. Let me share again. So let me share again here. That would be helpful. And then we'll end it there.
While you're trying to pull
Okay.
it up, I know you mentioned something about are we using all of the benefits we can from a like tax write-off perspective.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be a topic as
Okay.
well, if there's other ways to creative ways that we can be making sure we're maximizing our write-offs would be
Absolutely.
helpful.
Right. Okay. I like that too. Okay. So what I'm looking at here is the difference between what normal occupancy looks like in the market, or at least last year, right? And a lot of times these lines are going to be very much the same. What we're starting to see is an increase before FIFA, and this is an increase of 10%, right? So I'm seeing an increase blip 10% occupancy here. And then the real big one here, which is when some of the games are, it's actually a 23% or 22% increase, which is showing me, yes, very high demand, right? At the end of the day, the market is almost at 50%. We should be very close to selling out this weekend, unless too many people have flooded the market, just throwing in their damn property just for FIFA, which we know that happens, guys, right? And we've got to be aware of that. And so then what I then look at next, okay, so my occupancy is very high. This blue line, which is not the blue, not the blue hash mark, but this blue line is called the median booked price. This is the price that is, quote unquote, the actual median price that booked for my neighborhood, which is 433. Okay, so I just booked at 513 ish, and I maybe could have gotten a little bit more money out of it. I was riding a little bit higher, probably like 550. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm starting to see this really, pick up. And I'm talking about nothing has really happened for more than 2 months. And we're finally just starting to get some people inquiring about what's actually going on from the FIFA standpoint. And most people are saying, hey, unless you're in like Philadelphia is doing quite well. And I'll get the other markets. I have 2 articles that I think that I can probably maybe post, or at least one for sure. Something came out from Key Data talking about it's basically a tale of 2 cities. If you're an X, Y, and Z market, and Philly, I know Philly for sure is one of them, you're doing quite well. If you're in a so-and-so whatever, you're not doing so great. And if you're in some of these, you're just sort of like middle of the road, which I feel right now, Darsh, everybody here is just priced way too high. Now, what we don't know yet is who's going to be playing these the final matches and how that's going to play out. And that's what I'm hoping to learn more about, which is why you're starting to see these prices collectively all come down here on the first half of FIFA, and then the second half they're still relatively high. That's what you're seeing here is differently. For me, I'm just not in the action. I mean, I am further out. I'm 20 miles out, and I think that there's going to be very strong competition. So if I can continue to basically go ahead and take a 344 and convert it into a 542, get $200 more per night out of it, then I'm going to be happy. And I'd rather have something on the books and focus on getting more for the second half of what may happen with hopefully there's going to be a good thing. But I've seen all of this come way down, right? And I think that's what Darsh, is what you're saying here. And that's what I would coach people on or caution them on, is to say, you don't want to be the last one holding the bag. And so maybe, I'm riding this top of the 50th percentile, bottom of the 75th. And maybe I could be just a little bit higher here. But at the same time, I want to pick up more occupancy at a much higher rate, which will then in general give me that much more revenue for the summer that I wasn't 100% initially focusing on. And I've already grown like I was showing you guys earlier, I've already grown my revenue in the first 4 months year over year because of the rate increase. And so I'm just watching this all very closely, which is why you see less aggressive where it's not in FIFA territory per se, and then more aggressive still as we still have the unknown. And my price right here is 700 a night, and last year was 257. And the midpoint right now is hitting 451. So that is the balance that I'm always constantly watching on where I should price. But there isn't a lot of pickup or demand yet because the entire market is still sitting under 25%. So that's a lot there, but we could definitely put that on next week's topic. I think we are over our time, and I appreciate everybody being here, and I hope that this is just the beginning.
Ron, just real quick, just to add to your topic list. So one of the things that I'd be interested in is like scaling, like systems and
Yes.
things that you have in place, SOPs, things like that for scaling multiple properties, and then like where to go to like acquire those properties too. So.
Okay, cool. Because one thing that I definitely want to do with you guys sometime here is, like, if somebody's up for it, is let's go and air DNA and see where your property actually is falling. And this isn't to make anybody feel bad. Hopefully, it's to make people feel good. So if you think your property is like really performing or whatever, we'd love to see, like, like top performers, then I
Yeah,
can show you.
we've done something similar before. I know they call them audits, things like that. But yeah, that I always welcome those.
Yeah, so that's super cool. And then the more that I get involved with the underwriting work that I'm doing with Michael, and that's why this is so important, because this is really a lot of the stuff that him and I are sort of working on together to make sure that the things are there. It's just, to me, super important that people know how to read the data. I think a lot of people, unfortunately, got into this thinking that it was going to be easy money, and we all realize that now. That is not the case. This is like a constant focus, which is why I focus on many different revenue streams, from, like I said, co-hosting, full service management, cleaning, inspection, maintenance, local. Anything you can do local is always going to be like, hey, that's what we want to do. And then, like, I think you guys know this already, I'm super passionate about data and price labs and revenue management. Then finding that niche that you may be super passionate and really good at, that you could also potentially start focusing on generating more revenue. So, okay. Any other final questions before we stop for tonight? Okay. Thank you, guys. This has been fun. If there's any feedback, positive, negative, or whatever, please feel free to share. I have a very thick skin. I just feel like, hey, the more that we can talk about things in an open environment, the more we're going to learn from each other. And hopefully, I can use my experience to help help everybody, continue to grow. So thank you, guys. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.